The Boston Bruins have made yet again multiple moves here today, going over and re-signing their biggest priority in a right-handed defenseman, as well as a very interesting contract for goalie Michael DiPietro. We're going to be breaking it all down here, as well as John Beecher getting an extension. Don Sweeney is getting only W's here over these past few days, and we need to break it all down because he's getting some steal of a contract. And like I said, we have a lot to cover. Before we do get into this video, though, your guys' support has been absolutely insane, and I appreciate everybody watching these videos as of late. We're just past 7K. We've got the big goal of 10K. And for a big thank you, I am doing multiple videos a day, getting you all your Boston Bruins news, so you don't have to watch those big news outlets. I'll have it right here directly to you. Nothing but the best. But that's all I got for this intro. Let's get straight into the video here because we have a lot to get going. Now, this came out from NHL News. I wanted to put this tweet out. Was announced elsewhere, but this is the most clean and, nice cut for our viewers here today. And you see, the Bruins signed 3 extensions 1 day before free agency opens. And we know the Bruins had a few priorities. As I mentioned at the end of last video, the right-handed defenseman was one big priority. They finally got that done. Henri Jokiharju has signed a $3 million extension. John Beecher, a $1 9. This is a very good contract as well. We're going to kind of jump in later. And Michael DiPietro, a $2 $800K. Now, this Michael DiPietro contract is a bit different compared to what we originally saw from him. We're going to jump into that here in a bit and going over why this is such an important extension. But let's get straight into the Henri Jokiharju side of things. Now, Bruins Cap Space on Twitter pulling this up once again. They just updated this a few moments ago, and now we get a good look at where we currently stand with Morgan Geekie's contract in place, John Beecher's contract in place, and of course, not right here, but one that will be in Michael DiPietro going to be here. This now completely resolves our defense issue where we had a glaring hole on the right side. Don Sweeney's come out and said that that was their biggest priority. They needed a right-handed defenseman. That was their biggest need after, of course, Morgan Geekie getting extended, who got a steal of a contract. And Henri Jokiharju got one himself, actually. And I will pull this back up in a moment here, but going over to take a look at this contract, 3 by 3.6 was his projection according to AFP Analytics. And as we go back to it, $3 million, Don Sweeney's pulling some strings and getting these contracts lower, and arguably much lower than these projections, because when you do take a comparison of a 3.6 by a $3 million contract, even though it's not that big of a jump up at a 3.6, that is still a much more important contract extension than what it would be if it was 3.6, just because that $600K, we know the Bruins are trying to go and buy. That is a much bigger, amount of money than what they would have had originally, and adding that on top of, the $1 million they had from the Morgan Geekie contract. These little bits of savings are coming in and are going to have a big impact here tomorrow in free agency and what they proceed to do over these next few days. But jumping back into the Bruins cap space on X, their little screenshot here, you see the defense completely locked up. Now, the left side, immediately a big revamp compared to what we had even, yesterday morning. Morgan Geekie was a free agent. John Beecher was a free agent. Marat Nadinov was a free agent. Pavel Zacha was the only guy there. But now we just have one hole, which could be filled by John Beecher. And I personally think at least will be filled internally rather than going out and getting necessarily a third-line left winger. The right side, that's where moves can be made. I think there's still some room inside the organization to be able to make those holes get filled. But right now, the left side of this forward group is completely fixed. Things are looking good, and things are very exciting on this front. I want to touch on John Beecher very quick as well. Once again, before we do jump into this, his projection was at least also, $1.3 million. Another saving, although John Beecher still has a lot to prove. He is the ideal third line, I wouldn't even say fourth line, third line winger, third line center. He's great on the faceoffs, very smart on the offense, and he's just right now, at least, until he actually gets that development underway, gets a bit further along in his development, as he still is a younger player. He's a guy that is really going to be here and, have a big impact on this bottom six for this team and can fill in and can slot in at center when needed. He's a great faceoff guy, even though he's been playing a little bit of wing last year on that fourth line with, Mark Kaslik, who was a very sneaky good line. Let's not forget that. But before we do jump in, I want to pull up Henri Jokiharju's stats going over very quickly the little, kind of idea behind him. Now, he's not a guy that's going to go out and fill the net. Not at all. He is a guy that we saw be very, very good last year on the defensive side of things. In his few games with the Bruins, didn't have too many, but just under 18 minutes time on ice, Second line minutes, can play the first line if needed. Of course, we're going to have We're going to have a big, much improved defense this year, this core going over it when we do have McAvoy healthy once again. We're going to see him, hopefully at least, paired up with Nikita Zadorov. We saw that line be very, very good last year, and one that was really the reason that this team stayed afloat at the second half of the season. We needed that good pairing, as many of them were injured. That one worked out very, very well. But let's jump in now to this Michael DiPietro contract. This is one that is very interesting because, you can see here from Steve Conroy, he put this into very good terms. DiPietro's is a 2-year deal, $812K, but is a one-way deal. For those who don't know, one-way deals is an NHL deal, basically. You have to go through waivers to get sent down. On a two-way, you don't. Two-way, you can bounce between the AHL and NHL and without waivers. But now that it's a one-way deal at $812K, he will need to go through waivers. And from what we've been seeing from Elliotte Friedman, going over everything, there was a lot of interest from Michael DiPietro from many teams across the NHL, which causes a bit of an issue for the Boston Bruins, but also has a very quick resolution for the Bruins. And this is where things get a little bit interesting for the Bruins. Another move will be coming, and we can guarantee that now by this signing in specific. When we're looking at this one-way deal, he's going to be the backup this year in the NHL. I think that is something that the Bruins are trying to do, and what that means is trading Joonas Korpisalo. And we've seen that Joonas Korpisalo was not too happy with his play last year, not necessarily his play by himself, but not getting into the games. There was a few opportunities where I completely agree with him as well, actually, that he should have gotten in games other than Jeremy Swayman. He should have been put in games where Jeremy Swayman should have been pulled. We know how bad Swayman was last year, but Joonas Korpisalo wasn't much better. Let's be honest. He is a great backup, but at the price that he is and at his contract, he is a bit of an expensive backup. 4 years. 3 more years, excuse me. He's on the 3rd year of his deal, 4 than 5, at $4 million. Will be 34 when this deal expires. This is a very big contract to give a backup goalie who is, not great necessarily, but a solid backup when need be. But especially when your starting goalie is making $8 million. That's a big contract to give a backup goalie. And he wants out. I think that's something that he kind of almost admitted there at the end of the last season. I think the Bruins are going to be making an effort to get rid of him. That would be arguably, I think, one of the next moves that are going to be coming from this Boston Bruins team, because right now, apart from free agency, we're looking good on the roster side of things, but clearing this up, making sure Michael DiPietro won't have to go through waivers, clearing up the cap space, it just makes too much sense for the Bruins not to do it, and especially as we do go down here to, well, of course, what Elliotte Friedman had to say, that he would be claimed pretty much immediately if got put on waivers. But the one-way deal, it means that, this is something that the Bruins intend on doing. Brandon Bussi did not get a contract just yet. That could change, however, as an AHL goalie. At this point right now, it doesn't seem too likely, but Michael DiPietro was one that the Bruins could not be willing and really just could not allow to get given up for free. If they were to trade him at a later date, so be it. But right now, I think he is the perfect backup. He proved last year why he was so good. And I think that he's a guy that really has earned that shot in the NHL, even as a backup. And I know that it's behind Swayman, may not get into too many games, but going from the AHL to NHL is very different. I think Michael DiPietro has taken that step now and has earned the opportunity to go out here and try and make this roster. So let me know what you think about these moves. Once again, Don Sweeney seems to be cooking something very, very good. He is making these projections look like, a number that we never would have seen. He's getting a lot of good contracts here, and hopefully this works for free agency as well. Starts tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of news. Another video coming out later today going over the draft stuff. I've kept on having to postpone it with all of these signings that Don Sweeney's made, but he's looking good. He's making some very, very interesting moves, and we're going to be breaking it all down here on the channel. But that's all I got for this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. Remember, I'm going to have a lot of content for you. You won't want to miss it. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.